Can you hear me now? I don't hear you either. Let's see. Nothing's muted. Try going out and come back in. Where? Anything there? I'm having problems, folks. I can't get Darrell to where I can hear him. Come on. Let's try this one over here. Is that one working? Nope. Hey, Billy, dog. I see y'all in the chat over there. Darrell, I was trying to get him on at 12:15, but he jumped in here with me right now, so I guess we'll start now if we can get him working.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
There we go.
How you doing, bud? Been a long time talking to you.
It has been a while. I don't guess I've talked to you since the Alabama conference last year.
That's right.
I didn't know what happened to you.
Well, I've just been running around Alabama, basically. That's all.
Yeah, I didn't even know you had your podcast till, I guess, maybe a week ago when you sent me a couple of them links.
Yeah. I was doing primarily prospecting at the time, and now I switched over to the Bigfoot and other things. So, because I wasn't getting.
Great, man. Congratulations on your show here.
Thank you.
Appreciate you asking me to come on.
Usually, not as much as I appreciate you actually coming on.
Well, I normally don't do it quite that way, but I didn't have a lot going on till I go in this afternoon to help my lady. So
yeah.
But anyway, we're here. Let's get it.
All right. Well, tell a little bit about yourself and let's get going.
Are we live on the air right now?
We are live on the air.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'm Darrell Denton. Grew up in Tennessee. All my life lived there. Was into hunting, fishing, all sports, and basically did a lot of hunting on my grandfather's farm, who lived in about 90 miles from Nashville in Cannon County, Tennessee, where I had my first encounter in November the 6th of 1992 that completely changed my life forever, and had lots of encounters since then and experiences. And I don't claim to be an expert on anything. Whatever I tell you or say is only what I believe because I've experienced it myself. So thanks, everybody, for being here. And thanks, Wendell. Honored to be here on your show.
But it's like I say, it's an honor for you to come on my show. I'm kind of dumbfounded, but I'm glad you're here.
You're kind of like me and you, Ron Moorhead is, I have a lot of close friends, but
Yeah.
I have 3 or 4 people I consider my best friends. Martin Groves, 44 years now almost, and
Yeah.
Ron Moorhead, I don't know how long. Been huge follower of him all my long as I can remember. But we will have our own podcast on ourselves in the middle of March. We're having our own show together. It's called Too Real, and I hope everybody will check that out. And be an honor to have everybody watching us and seeing what goes on and what we've got planned. And of course, Martin Unley, been one of my research partners, him and Martin Groves and Ron Moorhead, and a little guy from my area that I researched with for quite a few years named Billy Howell. Great guy. A couple of my teammates have passed in the day suddenly at a younger age, but anyway, I've had a lot of things happen to me. I think some people are, for some reason, marked, and I believe I'm one of those people. I don't know why, but that's what I believe.
Well, there's been several different people come up with the same idea that you get marked, and once one of them knows you, they all know you.
Well, I've had experiences with both, good ones and bad ones, and there are people anyway. I don't personally believe there's anything to do with an ape, and I know there's people that feel differently, and that's your right to believe so. But what I've seen from these creatures, an ape is not capable of doing what, especially the intelligence they have and the ability to speak their own language, understand our language, and speak our words, and understand other languages. So. The intelligence and the elusiveness is enough to make them survivors all these years, because they most definitely can do special things.
Yeah, I know. I think if you stop and look at the way mankind has treated everything, no wonder they're hiding from us.
Well, there's I found out after my second encounter by pure accident. I never wanted to see another one of these creatures after the one I seen on November 6th of 92, which my granddad identified as a woodburger. It was the meanest, ugliest looking thing that I've ever witnessed to this day. And the second ones the second encounter, there was 3 of them that I seen on a regular basis. They completely different than this creature. They were friendly, non-aggressive. They kind of accepted me into their world, and I became friends with them, and they were friends with me. So never had an aggressive action from them. Of course, I think they have the ability to know your intentions.
Yeah,
and I think they also know that when you have the right heart that they like. And building trust in them is very difficult. I spent nearly 4 years with them, and I built trust with them, but I don't think I completely had my trust with them, because I don't think they trust humans, and I can understand why. Just like you said a minute ago, I learned from them. They did not like bright colors, red, orange, or plaid. And I would try to wear the same clothes every time I went in there. I would stop, change my clothes, and go in. They seemed to like the same pattern on a regular basis, and they didn't like you bringing people in. I brought 2 people in, and they didn't go over it real well. They didn't like that.
Yeah, maybe you should have asked first.
Well, I did kind of let them know that I was doing that, and one of them was one of my first research partners, a good friend of mine named Darrell.
Yeah,
who's since passed, and passed away about 3 years ago at a young age. But and then a lady that I was with at that time, and both of them, when they seen them, immediately got so terrified that they ran back to my vehicle and locked themselves in the vehicle and would not get out till I got back. So, everybody takes them in a different manner, and both of these people believe me, but I don't think it's set in their mind till they actually witnessed that these creatures were actually there.
Yeah.
So,
well, look, I haven't seen one yet, but I've heard howls, so I might have the same reaction when I see one.
I think everybody experiences a little different. It also depends on what you're doing and who you're with, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, I've been hunting the woods of my grandfather's property all my life at that time. And I was a young man at that time. I guess I was in my 20s, but you know, I never been back that far. There was a mile or a little more in the woods, and I mainly did regular hunting there, squirrel hunting, deer hunting, whatever, and never went quite that far. But I was looking for that big trophy deer that year, and my friends were hunting in different directions. There was three of those guys with me, regular hunting group that I went up there every year with, and you know, I'd never been in that far. And when you see something like that come out of a huge cane thicket, jump across a stream, one leap, and walk right down and stare at you and grit its teeth and show you its teeth and growl at you several times and rip a tree limb off and throw it in the ground and then yell the most unbelievable yell scream that I've ever heard still to this day. It echoed all down that hollow. It just, I don't scare very easy. And I don't remember ever being scared, to be honest with you, like I was. Maybe frightened is a better word, but I was terrified of this thing. So I'd never seen anything like that. Didn't realize anything like that was living in Tennessee anyway. Maybe out in the Pacific Northwest, you know, Washington, California, or Oregon, or British Columbia, but not in Tennessee. But since then, I've found out they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's all different types of them, too. They're not all the same.
So, yeah. I've heard there's 5 different types for.
You know, I've heard Wendell, I've heard 10 different types. I've heard 12 different types. I've heard all kinds of numbers. I don't think none of us really know the answer to that, but I don't know. I personally think I've seen 3 different types, maybe 4, but 3 for sure. The wood booger being the first one, it looked nothing like the second one I seen. The second one looked more like the Patterson-Gimlin type. And then the third creatures that I seen in the Blue Ridge National Forest of Virginia, I was lost in there for 3 days. And those look more like the cone-headed ones. They're more cone-headed type. And those are the 3 kinds that I believe I've seen. The 4th type being similar to the conehead, and the 3rd one, the Patterson-Gimlin type, kind of a cross between both of them. And there may be more. I have no idea. I wish I had answers to everything. And
I know you've heard of the Gugway.
Oh yeah, I think it's a completely different creature. You know, it looks like a Bigfoot. The head is more with a snout, has fangs, and they're mostly loners and travel alone. And I do know from eyewitnesses and I believe it was a surveyor that I talked to in the Land Between the Lakes that we research quite often, that he had seen one of those on the east side of the Land Between the Lakes, over closer to the Tennessee River. And I've never seen one in there, but I've heard people say that they have. I'm almost sure that my best friend Martin Groves in '93, when he was attacked by the dogman creatures in his camp at night, he and his partner, that the 2 what he thought to be Bigfoot that were along with those in front of them, in front of their vehicle when they were trying to leave that area in a hurry. I'm pretty sure that those might have been Gugway instead of regular Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But I don't know that for sure. Speculation. But and he's not sure either. He knows they were the size of a large Bigfoot, and he's not sure what all the what they exactly looked like. He was in a situation where he was just trying to get out there and save his life.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of creatures that roam these forests that your normal average day people sitting at home watching TV right now on the couch don't have a clue what's really out there. And they're probably better off they don't know.
Yeah, well, unless they run across one.
Yeah, I mean, if a national parks, that my biggest reason is the reason why the government doesn't tell about these creatures is because, first being the national parks is a $2.8 billion. That's a billion-dollar industry every year for the U.S.
Yes.
With tourists and people camping there and hiking and visiting different attractions in the national parks. You put out a publication that there's some kind of wild, hairy creature 8 foot tall or bigger running through the forest that possibly could harm you, I think you would probably put a dent in the people going to the national forest, especially grandma and grandpa with the grandkids. So,
yeah,
it would put a big dent in that. And then the scientific community has a big deal with that also. They don't quite believe that Bigfoot is a type of people. They think they're some type of ape. And I definitely don't believe that. So we put those two together and look what they've done to my good friend Melba Ketchum, and pretty much shows you where our society is headed in the scientific community with the government involved.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised they actually admitted that UFOs are real.
I think it comes to a point where there's so many people, and then you have credible people, U.S. Air Force members, fighter pilots, normal airplane pilots that are seeing these things on a regular basis. I think it becomes down to a credibility issue toward the government. People's tired of hearing it. They want to hear the truth, no matter if it may hurt, but I'd rather hear the truth any day than something just to cover up and put a Band-Aid on it. So I think people have got to that point. And I also think it will eventually, the funny thing about it, you mentioning that, when I camped in it's been probably 10 or 12 years ago, I spent a week or a little longer in Colorado in Pikes Peak National Park. And I camped there with a couple of my research partners because we had heard there was quite a few sightings in one area there. And there's a large sign inside the park that states, beware of these creatures. It's got a picture of what they consider looks like a Bigfoot. And be cautious with these creatures. I don't remember exactly what the sign said, but it was pretty much admitting that they do probably exist, and be careful when you're around them.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of disturbing when you got that from our government and the National Park Services announcing it, but they won't admit it to the public.
I heard that there was a old U.S. Air Force training manual that warned the pilots about them in the forest.
Right, I've actually seen that. I don't know if it was the original, but I've actually seen a copy of
that. That was way back, what, in the 30s, 40s?
I'm not really sure what year it was. I'm guessing the 40s, but I did see that it was actually on the map.
Yeah.
Printed on the map. It was not a large capture, but a small one that stated that. But
yeah,
there's no doubt, in my opinion, and most everybody's opinion that's watching, and including yours too, that these creatures exist. I've seen too many of them, and there's other creatures in the forest. There's other ones. And 10 years ago, I'd never heard of a dog man except for Martin Groves. And he called it a dog creature at that time. He didn't know what to call it either. He'd been attacked, in 93, just shortly after my first experience.
Well, my first experience of hearing about one was in 2023.
Well, Martin and I didn't have anybody to tell our encounters to back then. Mine was in 92. His was in 93, just 5 or 6 months after mine. And we could conversate together. He was a county sheriff's deputy, chief deputy of the county, and super great guy. And I was my mayor there in my community, and was for quite a while. And you go telling people that you've seen a Bigfoot or a dog creature, well, they're going to think you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
So, and there wasn't any podcast. There wasn't any radio shows. There wasn't any groups that you could go on to and talk about this type of thing. You really couldn't reach out to anybody except somebody that you felt like you 100% could trust.
Yeah.
So that's really improved a whole lot, in the last few years. I believe that I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm correct that me and Michael Patterson had the very first Bigfoot group in 2015 or 16 on Facebook, and it was called Blue Ridge Crypto and Sasquatch. But I couldn't believe how many members joined so quickly. There was people out there that absolutely had PTSD or lived in fear because, and that's when a lot of people wasn't even on Facebook, but there was still a large number. But they were just trying to find any place they could talk to about this and not be criticized or ridiculed. So,
it was a good thing that you started one.
Well, we really did it. And at that time, we weren't thinking about that part of it. We were more thinking about hearing people's, seeing how many people out there had encounters.
Yeah.
That was our big reason at the first. But, Michael started it and I helped him and we got it going. And it was amazing of all the people that were just bottled up for so many years. Some of them were coming out talking about things that happened to them 15 years ago and they were still scared of it. But they couldn't express even to their family members. So credibility thing goes a long way on this stuff. And, it's pretty easy to me when I talk to an individual who's had a sighting and you can see the difference in what it's done to them. It's kind of hard to fake that.
Yeah, I know a couple of folks that I think have very strong PSD about it. And I've looked in some of the stuff that they've seen, and some of it has been pareidolia, and some of it has been interesting. Best I can put it.
Well, I believe your area. I wasn't aware how much was going on down your way, but Alabama's have tons of sightings, and I knew for years, from Coonbo. Tim Coonbo Baker, that he had grew up with them and he knew all about them, and he was probably the only person I knew from Alabama that had spoke openly about them. But since I've met so many people in your area that actually research or pay attention to this type of thing, such as Mark Green, his wife, and you got Bama Murdoch, you got yourself, you got Phyllis and John. And I mean, you go into all these people that I met down there. And of course, Debbie and Larry Ports don't live in Alabama, but they're pretty familiar with a lot of those people down that way. And, they're all close friends. And, you got just lots of people down that area that's contacted me personally and told me about, occurrences down there, what's happened. So, I think every state has a large number of these creatures. I don't know about, I mean, rephrase that. I think Hawaii being the only state that hasn't reported a sighting.
They got the little people.
Yeah, heard about them too. But, it's, I know that South is just loaded with these creatures. And I believe since my first occurrence, or maybe I was just ignorant of the fact of how many existed, there's a whole lot more sightings now than there was then.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people are just coming out or there's more people in the woods. I know that a lot of the builders and homes and subdivisions and different type businesses are running these creatures out of their native area. And they may see them, some of them, because of that. But it's a lot more sightings than there used to be. That's for sure.
Well, back the Y2K thing, I think that actually had something to do with it. Because you didn't hardly ever hear nothing about a Bigfoot before Y2K. And then more and more started after that.
Well, a lot of things, I think, I don't disagree with that at all. It's probably something I haven't thought about, but that makes sense. But I don't know for a fact that groups on Facebook, conferences that are more now than ever was, and people that have actually seen them are just opening it up and coming out. They don't care whether you believe them or not. And I feel the same way they do. I know what I've seen. I don't care if you believe me or not. But, there's people that are coming out. They're not as fearful as they once were. So, you got people that work in the national parks, and I've talked to some of those people. Martin Groves has interviewed numerous ones, and I've talked to quite a few of them myself. And, they won't talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've been told not to talk about it. Some of the ones
I think they have.
Some of the ones we've talked to that are retired, especially one from the land between the lakes area of Tennessee and Kentucky, that individual, all he would do when we'd ask him was smile. Have you seen these creatures? He'd smile. Do you know of any around here? Smile. Do you believe they exist? Smile.
Yeah.
He wouldn't answer the actual question, but he was kind of letting me know, yep, they're here. But I guess they're kind of a situation where they're afraid to lose their job or their pension.
Yeah.
Look at what happened to Dr. Melba Kitchen. I mean, I can't think of anything worse to happen to a better lady who did the Genome Project back 2008 to I think it was 2013. I kept up with that project the whole way through. My good friend Scott Carpenter was involved with that. He supplied the hair from double-sided tape from his area. And my friend that's in my group, Jennifer Appleton, that was actually supposed to take place at her farm in Tennessee, DeKalb County, Tennessee. And the only reason they changed locations to Kentucky is because she had some issues with the Bigfoot that lived on her property. They didn't want the cameras being there. So, you look at some of the credibility that's out there just can't be overlooked.
Yeah.
But Dr. Melba Kitchen, I mean, if you don't know who that is, you can look her up. But
I've seen some of her stuff. I have.
The Genome Project in 2008 to 13 and had a good team of researchers, scientists, a person who invested quite a bit of money for her to prove the existence of Bigfoot. My personal opinion, along with other thousands of people, there's no doubt in my mind she had proved that their existence. She had over 100 samples of DNA on this creature, including blood that they got from a nail board, where the creature stepped on a nail board.
Yeah.
And then they had saliva, which come off of different foods, and I believe a can that the creature had chewed on or drank out of, and then they had hair from several people, including Scott Carpenter. And these tests came back to be, I believe the number was 58% human female, 42% unknown creature. So I don't know what other proof you got to have.
I don't either. It's especially as many times as that same result has come back from across the country.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It really is. And, I just feel so bad for Melba, all she done to help out and let people know the real of this creature that lives. And the scientific community has just beat her up so bad. And, she's a member of my group. I don't think she's a member of any other group, but she doesn't comment, doesn't get on, doesn't do a whole lot because of the ridicule. So, but I will say this, she has not let it back her down. Her and my close friend, Robin Haynes, they are currently doing a study on the Dogman DNA.
Yeah.
So that will be out probably within the next year, the results from that. And I'm real excited about seeing that result.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know anybody was doing a DNA on it yet.
Yeah, they've been working on it for quite a while. But it's they've got what I understand, it's going to be shocking what they found.
Of course, it's got to be.
Be surprising if it don't have some human in it, like the Bigfoot did.
Probably does. You was talking about the Bigfoot here in Alabama. You got Flat Rock, Coonbo, Greg, and Mark Green. They all have them living basically in their backyard. So
Right. And there's a couple other people that has messaged me from down there. Super nice folks. I wish I could think of their names, but in Alabama that's got them right there in their backyard. I wish I could think of the gentleman's name who's messaged me several times. Just a real nice guy. But, he and Mark were on, I believe they did an interview for Flash of Beauty or something. But this gentleman was on there. And there's quite a few people, Bettina Moss, who's a good friend of mine. She's had 2 dog men in her backyard, her father's backyard. So there's a lot of stories from that area. Of course, that's I think anywhere you find plenty of food, and when I'm talking about food, I'm talking about the white-tailed deer. And Tennessee's just overrun with them. I'm sure Alabama is too. There's plenty of food for those creatures to eat. And as long as they've got fresh water nearby and a place to hide, I think they're going to be in those areas.
Well, I've heard stories from Alaska to down here in Alabama from people in my prospecting group about them, but they wouldn't come on and tell me about it. Come on the podcast, but they told me about what happened to them up in Alaska. And there's a lady down here found 3 white apes playing in the creek, and another guy was painting down there and had rocks thrown at him. So,
well, I think there's different types of these creatures. I don't know if they're all in the same Bigfoot family or not. I would think they probably are. Like I said, I don't think the Gugway is in the Bigfoot family. I don't know. I definitely don't think the Dogman is. I think it's a whole different type of entity. So,
yeah.
But nothing surprises me in what I hear about these creatures. Now, the ones in Alaska, I'm talking to my best friend, Ron Moorhead, those things are, some of those are just extremely large. I mean, 12 foot or bigger. And, I've seen quite a great number of these creatures here in the South. And me personally, I've never seen one over 8 foot or a little bit taller than 8 foot. And my measurements come from going to the tree limb or a spot on the tree or something where they were at and where they were standing. And I would picture that in my mind. And then I would measure it with measuring tape, with a tape measure. And I think the tallest one I've recorded is about 8 foot 2. So, and
we have a member of our group, Gary. Him and Kumbo both have seen one out here at Gary's house. Kumbo said it was right at 15 foot.
Yeah, I've heard Kumbo mention how big they were out his area. Yeah, I've heard that. I'm just saying, personally, myself, I've never seen one that big. And the ones I've seen to get your attention anyway, even at 8 foot.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. And when they leave about a 2-inch indention in the hard dirt of where they were standing, that really gets your attention because you're talking about, I don't know, 1,000-pound beast. I don't know what they weigh, but some of the ones I've seen were a lot bulkier than other ones. I've even seen some skinny ones.
Yeah.
But it's still just amazing to me, even though all I've witnessed is how these creatures have lived so elusive so long, and people, they just know. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind when you get out of your truck or vehicle to go in researching, they already know you're coming in. They've got somebody, usually it's a juvenile crawling over a log peeking at you, or one on a hilltop, doing a wood knock or an owl call. They're the best in the world at owl call, but I can tell the difference in their owl call and a real owl call.
Well, Darrell, we're getting close to your time limit from what you told me before. It's almost 12 o'clock my time, 1 o'clock your time.
Yeah, I'm okay. I got another 10 minutes if you want to go. If you don't, that's fine. No problem.
Well, I just want to get you.
No, I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, I'll be okay on that number.
Okay. Yeah. When I was setting up the podcast, I didn't realize that you was on a different time schedule than I am.
Yeah, I'm an hour ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a little bit confusing. I did a show in England the other day, and I did the show at 2:00 in the afternoon because it was 7:30, 8:00 there.
Yeah.
So I did one in Japan last year at 7:00 in the morning because they were 12 hours behind us. So all these time zones are different and hard to keep up with, but an hour is a little easier than the other ones.
I don't know if you can see the chat or not, but we've had a bunch of people saying hello to us.
I cannot see the chat at all, but I appreciate everyone watching and tell them I said hello. Thank you for being here.
That's Misty, Gary, Flat Rock, Billy, one of my prospecting buddies. Where'd he go? There's Dog and Tammy and
well, I'm sure I know those people. I definitely know Flat Rock. I think the world of them. And hello, Flat Rock. So there's a lot of people I don't know right off until I see them by name or in my group. So
yeah.
But anyway, we're one large community, and it's good that we have one.
Yeah, this like the closest family I've got, and everybody that I've talked to, they agree this is like the biggest family they've ever been in.
Yeah, it's most everybody is really good people, down to earth. No matter what they've got or don't have, everybody seems to take them in and become part of the brotherhood.
Yeah, and it's when you meet them, it's almost like you already knew them all your life.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's everyone that I meet, even in other areas that I never thought I'd be in. At conferences or whatever. As far away as I'll be speaking at the Nebraska conference this year, my first time I've ever spoke there. And I was invited to speak there, and then I've got one in Oregon in July. Never been there. And I've got one, of course, coming up, the Tennessee Wildman Conference I always do every year. I absolutely enjoy doing that one because it's my home state. And
yeah,
most of my best friends that I research with are there, including Martin Groves and Joe and Jesse of Hellbent Holler. And I think Coonbo will be at that one. And, Ron Moorhead's usually there. This year, I know MK Davis will be there. And just enjoy that one. It's my home people. And so many people come up from Alabama and other areas to see, to witness it and visit us. And anyway, I appreciate everybody tuning in today and watching me and my buddy Wendell here.
And Bama Murdoch, he said to tell you hello too.
I can't find a better guy that I could say anything better about than Bama Murdoch. That guy makes me laugh when I'm having the worst day.
Yeah, he is funny. And
he's
he is a great guy.
True real guy. And he gives himself no credit, but he's a pretty good researcher.
Yeah. He's got guts going out there solo camping in these places.
Yep. Him and his dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank the world of Bama.
Well, we're going to let you go ahead and go, and where you get everything situated the way you got to go.
All right, Wendell, we appreciate it. And thanks again, everybody, for watching me on here. And Wendell, thanks. I'm honored that you invited me.
I'm honored that you accepted. And we'll talk to you as soon as we can.
All right. Y'all take care out there. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay. That was a great interview for me. I was surprised he accepted my invitation as quick as he did today. I asked him at 10 o'clock this morning, my time, if he would come on. And of course, he was thinking it was, his time was 12 o'clock, but it was we got it going anyway. And I'm glad all y'all joined in and watched us. And I'm going to try to have my show every Sunday at 12. That way I can not be interrupting anybody else's. And we will talk to you later. Bye bye, family.